Or Leviticus 16, let's call this one the GOAT, which is sometimes a euphemism for, in sports, the greatest of all times. But in this sense, it's really going to refer to the literal greatest of all times, and that is the Christ. And it's going to do it implicitly, helping us to point forward to a passage in Isaiah 53. But it can be disrespectful to call Jesus the GOAT, because one of the things that God is going to contend with the people of Israel with in chapter 17 is their tendency to sacrifice to goat demons. And goat demons aren't just a thing of their time. They stretch forward into all sorts of paganism and idolatry today that's still practiced. And so calling God the GOAT, it's disrespectful. But it literally comes out of this passage, which also talks about the scapegoat, a concept that we also carry in our society today, which comes in many ways from this biblical chapter, in which 2 goats are offered on the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. Verse 5, he shall take from the congregation of the people of Israel 2 male goats for a sin offering and 1 ram for a burnt offering. Aaron shall offer the bull as a sin offering for himself, and shall make atonement for himself for his house, and for his house. Then he shall take the 2 goats and set them before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Aaron shall cast lots of the 2 goats, 1 lot for the Lord, and the other lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall present the goat on which the lot fell for the Lord, and use it as a sin offering. That one's going to die. It's going to be important when we get to Isaiah 53. But continuing on, verse 10, but the goat on which the lot fell for Azazel shall be presented alive before the Lord to make atonement over it, that it may be sent away into the wilderness to Azazel. Skipping down to verse 20, and when he has made an end of atoning for the holy place and the tent of meeting and the altar, he shall present the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat and confess over it all the iniquities of the people of Israel and all their transgressions, all their sins. And he shall put them on the head of the goat and send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a man who is in readiness. The goat shall bear all their iniquities on itself to a remote area, and he shall let that goat go free in the wilderness. And that line about bearing the iniquities is almost going to be a literal statement of the role that Jesus is going to play in Isaiah's prophecy in Isaiah 53, where it reads, beginning at verse 1, who has believed what he has heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant and like a root out of dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And as one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God and afflicted. And that's the part that talks about the scapegoat that will get to live, even though its future might not be all that great, understanding it's carrying the iniquities of the people. But verse 5 is going to talk about that part of the goat that is actually killed as a sacrifice for sin. And Christ is going to fulfill both roles. When verse 5 says, but he was pierced for our transgressions, and he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace. And with his wounds, we are healed. And so fast forward to the New Testament to maybe see ways in which he was scapegoated, not only in death, but in life, since some of his more famous conflicts came with groups like the Pharisees that really just needed to improve their understanding of what God was doing in both Israel and in all mankind. Ironically enough, Christ could have helped them understand that. But some of the conflicts that convicted me more were the ones where he taught and people simply said that is too tough to do because, oh my goodness, the times I want to blame him for failing when it seems like he's asked me to do too much. So my prayer for you is my prayer for me. To the degree that we get tempted to shake our finger at God and either scapegoat God or brother and sister because it just seems like we are getting parts of the blame that aren't fair, that we take a step back and realize the way that blaming God and blaming others does not help us fix us. The Bible says it like this: humble yourself, and in due time God will exalt you. To the degree I'm wasting time trying to humble my brothers and sisters, one of the things I'm missing is the ways in which I'm failing to humble myself. And sometimes when it seems too heavy, it's because it is. But God has promised if I simply humble myself, I don't have to fix it all. He will exalt me in due time. And so my prayer for us is that we get the healing that comes from God by simply doing the one thing he's asked us to do, and that's humble ourselves, not so much the people around us, so that that weight that really is too heavy, he will lift in due time. His best to you as you go forward in him, though.